Welcome back to the Point Guard Cast with your host Sean and Corey. I'm Corey.
I'm Sean. What's up, man?
How you doing?
All right, how you been?
Been good. Been good. Been busy.
Yep. It's the basketball season still going on for like our sisters, so it's almost through. Y'all think y'all got playoffs coming up, right?
Yeah, we do. They got playoffs coming up, but then right after that's AAU season. So
AAU season, yeah. So it's not really gonna stop it.
no, it's gonna keep going. It's a year-round thing. That's just how it goes. So playoffs coming up all throughout February, and then March is AAU. So one thing after the other, but it's all good. It's all good. But All-Star voting started this weekend.
Yep.
I'm not lying. This week. Excuse me.
Right. But we still don't know if they're gonna have a game or not, do we?
No, I don't think they will, or it might be delayed or something. I'm not sure. But I do like how much they're encouraging people to vote this year, though. I like that.
Yeah. Because I like the fact that they're still gonna acknowledge the people that's playing the best.
Right.
Yeah. So even if they have a game or not, I'm just glad that they're acknowledging All-Stars because people deserve that acknowledgement and that bonus or whatever comes with being an All-Star.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Especially this year. There's a lot of people this year that I feel like have taken the league by storm and have done better than a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. So let's start with our All-Star picks for the West this year.
Okay.
Who do you have as your Western All-Star starters?
So we're gonna start with the backcourt. My backcourt is Damian Lillard and Steph Curry.
Okay.
Damian Lillard because let's start with Steph Curry. He's Steph Curry. He's still Steph Curry. I mean, we didn't doubt that, but he's putting up ridiculous numbers. He has that team above 500 right now,
Right.
which I didn't like initially. I didn't think was gonna happen. I thought that losing Clay, which it is. But losing Clay was a big deal for them. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs for real. But Steph Curry has them afloat. They're 11-9 right now. He's averaging 27, 5, and 6. And he just like passed Reggie Miller for second on all-time 3 points. So like you can't really deny him. Damian Lillard, similar story. Damian Lillard has the Portland Trailblazers right above the Golden State Warriors at 10-8 in the 7th spot. He's averaging 30 points almost, 4 rebounds and 7 assists. He just hit that game winner last night against the Bulls. That had that Zach LaVine all distraught or whatever.
Yeah, that was crazy.
He's doing Damian Lillard things. He's still Damian Lillard, obviously. These guys are getting older. They're in their 30s now, but they're still putting up big numbers. But yeah, that's my backcourt. My front court is obviously LeBron James, right? Nikola Jokic. LeBron. Let's talk about him one by one. LeBron is having, he didn't have the best game last night or the best game against the Pistons before that. But other than that, he's had an MVP type season. It's looking like it could be a 5th MVP if he continues on this trajectory. Nikola Jokic, because like Nikola Jokic is similar to LeBron. He's having an MVP type season. Their record isn't the best. We would expect the Denver Nuggets to be a little bit better than 11-8 right now. But Jokic is still doing his thing. He's averaging almost a triple-double at 25.7, 11.7, and 8.7. So he's having an MVP type of season too if he was able to, put it all together and like win more games, become a top seed. He can win that MVP award. I think he deserves that front court. That front court position. And then Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has he and Paul George both are playing well right now. They have the Clippers second in the Western Conference behind the Utah Jazz. Kawhi is averaging 25, 5, and 5. So like the typical Kawhi numbers. He's doing what he can to keep that team at the top of the league.
Right.
And I think that's it. I think that's 5, right? Yeah, Steph, Dame, Kawhi, LeBron, and Jokic as my starters. For the
I like those starters. I actually got the same exact starters for my Western Conference starters. I got Steph and Dame. I'm glad you mentioned about Steph having this Warriors team in playoff contention, because that was part of the big reason why I had him up there. Even if they would have been at that 9th or 10th spot, I probably still would have put him up there just because of the way he's been playing, especially like through these last 7 or 8 games.
Right.
He's really showing his leadership and how well he can lead a team. Not having somebody like Klay with this Warriors team, because to be honest, them being the 8th seed right now, with all those new players they got, all those young players they have, with Klay, it'd be hard to say that they wouldn't be
a top 4 seed
or higher. Exactly. So, I like the way Steph is playing this year. I like where he has the Warriors. I like how he's getting those young players to buy into to the team. Him and Draymond. Yeah. So I mean, he's averaging 27, 5, and 6. So he definitely deserves a spot. And then I got Damian Lillard, just like you. Dame has his team at the 7th seed. The Portland Trailblazers are looking like a really good team, but they always really do. Like Portland's one of those teams that you could pretty much rely on them to probably make the playoffs every year.
Right.
To me, that's not something you really have to worry about with them. But individually, Dame almost averaging 30. Man, he's playing at a really high level this year.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of going under the radar a little bit because it's Portland.
Definitely.
And because they're not like a
top seed, yeah.
But Dame is playing really well. So Dame deserves that starting spot. Then for my front court, I got LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Nikola Jokic, just like you. LeBron being 36 and averaging 25, 7, and 7. It's pretty amazing. That's almost his career average. His career average is 27, 7, and 7.
A question real quick. Question about LeBron.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think that it is more likely that LeBron is not a top 5 player next year, or he is a top 5 player when he's 40? Which is more likely?
At the rate he's going and the way he just makes the game look easy for somebody who is 36 but has the miles on him like he does, with somebody who's gone to 10 finals, made 8 straight. Like, he's gone as far as you can go in the playoffs for pretty much a decade. I think he'll still be a top 5 player at 40 at this point. Because the way he plays
just listen to what you just said, bro. Just listen to what you just... It's ridiculous, man. Because I agree with that. I agree with that. Like, there's no way that he's going to not be a top 5 player next year. Like, at this point, right? So, like, it's more likely that he's a top 5 player when he's 40, and that's just crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, coming off the short amount of rest time that he had this year, I would have thought that he was gonna. I mean, he even said it himself in the offseason he was gonna take time off. He hasn't yet, though. He hasn't sat out a game at all yet, and I mean, he looks good. Like, he doesn't look sluggish.
And then he's shooting a career year he's shooting over 40% from 3.
Yeah, which is crazy. Now he's turned into a sharpshooter in his old man age, which is crazy.
And that's going to extend his career. If that's sustainable, that's going to extend his career. But we talking about All-Stars. Let's get back to the All-Star. We'll talk about LeBron another time. That's just crazy, bro.
It is crazy. But so I got him in there for. I mean, he's definitely the Lakers right now. He's definitely the Lakers' best offensive player. It's kind of hard to deny that, with Anthony Davis kind of taking a back seat. But also, you can clearly see this year that, LeBron doesn't have the same mindset he had last year of, I want to lead the league in assists. He said that for last year. He did it. Definitely took a back seat when it came to scoring. But he hasn't really this year. He's definitely the Lakers' best scorer and their most aggressive scorer, and he's leading them to a top 3 seed. And then I got Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is having a really sneaky year also. Like, I think a lot of people, because of what the Nets were able to do in getting James Harden, kind of took attention away from the Clippers. And maybe that's good for them as a team when it comes to not having that pressure that they had on them last year of being in the spotlight every 2 seconds for any little thing they did. Because he's actually doing really well this year, him and Paul George, actually. Like you said, he's averaging 25, 5, and 5. And he's got the Clippers right now at the 2 seed in the West. Even though I think by the time the end of this first half of the season rolls around, I think they'll end up being the 1 seed most likely, which is what I predicted anyway from my preseason predictions, because I just felt like they were going to have something to prove going into this new year anyway, especially how things ended last year.
We talk about the Clippers, right?
Yeah, Kawhi and the Clippers. Yeah. So he's playing really well. He's doing it on the offensive and the defensive end, and he's actually getting people involved more than the stats show when it comes to this Clippers team. So Kawhi Leonard definitely deserves that starting spot. And then Nikola Jokic, like you had, averaging 25, 11, 8, averaging a double-double, almost a triple-double. Now, the Nuggets record doesn't reflect how well he has necessarily been playing.
But they are still fourth in the West, though.
Yeah, no, they're not doing terrible, but they're just not doing as well as everybody expected, especially with how well they played in the bubble last year.
Yeah.
Because at one point in the bubble, they looked like the team to beat. They were just the kings of comebacks.
But they also still lost a lot of games. Like, all of their series went to 7.
Yeah, that is true.
Except for the Lakers series.
Right, that is true. It just seemed like the momentum that they had in the bubble might have was possibly going to carry over into this year.
Yeah, take a jump like you expected, like Jamal Murray to take a jump. Michael Porter Jr. is already taking that jump. Jeremy Grant left, so that doesn't help them out a lot. So I think they miss him a little bit, but it's still early. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. It's still early, but the way he's playing right now, the way he's playmaking for others, the way he's rebounding, and the way he's scoring, he looks really great. And to be honest, he's got to be in that top 6 when it comes to the MVP race. He was in people's top 3, top 5 at one point. It has kind of dialed back a little bit, but still got a lot of season left. He can get right back in that top 5 conversation pretty easily. And I think he will, because I think the Nuggets will be a team that make a huge push later on in the season, in this back half before the playoffs. So he deserved that spot. And yeah, that's who I got for my West. So I think it's interesting that we both had the same 5 for our Western Conference starters. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Now let's get on to the East. Who you got for the East?
You know what? You go first. I went first on the West.
Okay, you want me to go first? Okay, cool. So for my backcourt, I got Bradley Beal.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Beal has looked like the best player in the league so far. Like, the man is playing out of his mind. You clearly saw after last year that he kind of wanted to be the man on the Wizards. He's proven that this year. The Wizards just aren't a great team overall.
Right.
That's been the only issue.
That's why it's hard for me to say he's playing like the best player in the league, because the best player in the league has the impact to where they can have their team win games despite them being. I guess I'm just spoiled by what LeBron did.
No, that's true. I say he's playing like it, but it's just not translating. Like, you're right, it's not translating to team success. Right. But the All-Star is about your individual success, so he definitely deserves a spot in my opinion. He's averaging 34.7. 5.1 and 4.8. Like, he's the kid is cooking. But you can clearly see that the Wizards just don't have enough to beat the majority of good and decent teams in this league. You can see that. But see, before the season started, I said that there wasn't enough around him and Russ anyway. We had that. We said that. So to me, this isn't really shocking. It's shocking to a lot of other people, but if you look at their roster,
I thought they would win a little bit more games than what they're winning, though.
That is true. I will say I didn't think it was going to be this disappointing, but I also felt like it was bound to happen. I didn't expect Bradley Beal to play this well individually, though. I'll tell you that much.
No.
Averaging almost 35, but they just don't have a lot around the two of them. They really don't. There's only so much that him and Russ can do, and there's definitely only so much he can do by himself.
Yeah, it's time we have that Russell Westbrook conversation. But go ahead, keep going.
I would agree with you, but I feel we'll get in that. We'll get in that. For my other backcourt starter, I got Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
Despite the issues that Kyrie Irving may have had earlier with having to take the time off and not really saying anything to anybody, he's been playing really well. He's averaging 27.7, 4.8 and 5.8. He's looking like himself. He's looking like Kyrie Irving. And for him to be averaging almost 28, you can tell that the way the Nets offense is set up, they need every bit of that. I get that a lot of people feel like maybe the Nets can win with just with just KD and Harden. But these last couple games to me have shown otherwise. Kyrie is definitely a huge factor in why they won like the last 4 games. So I had to put Kyrie in there. So my 2 backcourt people are Bradley Beal and Kyrie. For my front court players, I got Kevin Durant. I don't know how anybody wouldn't have Kevin Durant as an all-star starter, especially with him coming off such a significant injury like an Achilles. So he's coming off a big injury, but the man is averaging 30. That's crazy. He's coming off an Achilles and averaging 30. I want to see the last player that came off an injury like an Achilles and came out averaging 30.
Probably Dominique Wilkins.
Probably.
He probably went averaging 30, but like he's probably the best player that
came off an Achilles and looked like himself.
It looked like himself again. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
It's crazy. KD's averaging 37 and 5. Like he's scoring really well, and he's also actually with this Brooklyn Nets team. He's actually showing his passing ability. Like it's crazy. He's showing his playmaking ability a lot this year too, which is something that I don't think a lot of people are mentioning. And he's definitely somebody who's in the MVP race also. So KD definitely deserves a spot. If KD was averaging 25 or 27, I think he'd be in the spot too. But this is the fact that he's averaging 30. Definitely deserves a spot. Next I got Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is definitely having an MVP type season. He's averaging 28, 11 and 2, averaging a double-double. He's got the 76ers sitting at the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which I predicted and said that they would. Having a new head coach, having a new GM, not liking how things ended for them last year, and Joel Embiid speaking on not liking how things ended for them last year in the playoffs. I expected him to play well, but not this well. But he's definitely having a great season, bro. To be honest, I feel like he's averaging 28 right now. I feel like Joel Embiid could be averaging 30 almost by the time the season's done, to be honest with you. So shout out to Joel Embiid, how well he's playing. He definitely deserves a spot. And then for my last person that I have in the front court for the East is Giannis. I know that this season's kind of been disappointing for the Bucks, like the start. I know that a lot of people probably feel like it should be, if not the 1 seed, like the 76ers, because of how well they're playing, at least the 2 seed. But they're sitting right now at the 3 seed at 11 and 8. But Giannis is playing like Giannis, though. I mean, he's averaging 27, 11, and 5. He's doing what he always does. He's done the last 2 seasons that he's won the MVP. He's just somebody who's really hard to stop in the regular season, and he's just always going to find a way to get to his spot and score. So Giannis definitely deserves a starting spot in my eyes. He's been playing really well, even though right now for the Bucks, it doesn't seem like it's. I mean, 11 and 8 isn't bad, but just the way they played the last couple seasons, you probably expected them to be a little better. But I know that they're a team who will get better as the season goes along. So Giannis to me definitely deserves that spot. So I got Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Giannis for my Eastern Conference starters.
Okay. For my Eastern Conference starters, I too have Bradley Beal for all the reasons you put.
Okay.
He's averaging 35 points a game, man. I don't throw record out the window with this dude, man. He deserves. I think he was snubbed last year too, right?
Yep.
Or in his mind, snubbed. I didn't think he was snubbed as much, but I do think that if he's not an all-star, at least in the all-star reserve this year, he's been snubbed. But I think because he's averaging 35 points, the fans are going to vote him in. My other guard is interesting because you had Kyrie, right?
Yeah, I had Kyrie,
but I couldn't put Kyrie because of all the time he's missed from not. I couldn't in good faith put Kyrie in this spot, so I put Jaylen Brown in this spot.
Okay, I respect it.
He's averaging the same amount of points as Kyrie, 5.4 rebounds, 3.5 assists a game on this best of shooting efficiency he's ever had in his career. And then the Celtics are they're like nobody's record is really that good this year right now. Like there's no juggernaut record this year. There's no team that's like 15-1 or whatever. So like everybody's around that 11-8, the 11-8, 10-7 type of deal, except for like the Lakers and the Clippers and the Jazz and the 76ers. So and then their records are still not the best. And then so many teams has missed so many times with the COVID stuff. So that's another thing that's like messing with teams' records. Right. But Jaylen Brown, he's having a career year. One of my favorite players in the league, even though he's a Celtic. So I put him in the. I had to put him in that spot. Kevin Durant, like you said, all the same reasons you said. He's averaging 30 coming off an Achilles. He's Kevin Durant. He has his team 13-8, and I think like what, third seed in the Eastern Conference.
No, the second seed. Yeah, the second seed.
Second seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, 13-8, sitting pretty at second seed.
Whoa, hold up. Oh, that's the league. I'm looking at the league. I was like fifth, but that's the league. Yeah, they're behind the 76ers at 13-8. The 76ers are 14-6.
Right.
So, Kevin, like you said, Kevin Durant, I was about to say averaging triple double. He's averaging 30 points a game coming off an Achilles. Like I said, like we both said already. Next, I got Giannis, for the same reasons you said. Like he's Giannis. Like how are you going to keep Giannis out of the starting lineup? Right. He's going to get the votes. And Joel Embiid, like he has his team first in the Eastern Conference. You expected that. I did not. I mean, it's still early. It might not stay that way, but right. He's having an MVP type season, kind of like Nikola Jokic. Who's better between those two guys, Embiid or Jokic?
I would say right now I give Embiid the edge. I give him an edge just with his scoring right now.
Gotcha.
But where I give Jokic the edge is he can score like Embiid. I mean, he may not body you down low the way Embiid does, but he can bring you outside, and he can shoot a midi, he can shoot a three, kind of like Embiid. But then he also has that threat of making the right pass or playmaking for somebody that Embiid doesn't necessarily have. But for right now, just being the more dominant big man, I give it to Embiid right now.
Okay, and this team's better, so yeah, you're probably right now in this moment. I'll probably go with Joel Embiid as well, but Nikola Jokic is right there.
Yeah, of course.
He's like they're like 1 and 1A. I don't even think they're 1 and 2.
No. It's definitely 1A, 1B type situation with those two for sure. So it's interesting. So we pretty much had the same people again. It's just you put in Jaylen Brown over Kyrie Irving, and I mean you had good reasoning too. I actually debated between those two.
Really?
Putting in Jaylen Brown over Kyrie Irving or keeping Kyrie. Kyrie did take the time off, but then he came back and looked like he really never missed a beat. Was my biggest thing. Also, you could see that when he came back, like the chemistry wasn't hurt between him and the team, or him and KD, or him and Harden. Like the chemistry.
They just lost to the Cavs.
Yeah, that was it. Listen, the Cavs. That's what I'll say about the Cavs. First of all, the Cavs are a very slept-on team. They remind me a lot of how the Heat played last year. Like you sleep on them, and then they make you pay for it. That's pretty much what happens.
We'll talk about reserve, but I strongly consider giving Colin Sexton one of those spots. And he might, like, we only did 5 reserves, so like if we were to expand that, he might have got one of my spots.
I kind of agree with that. Since you brought that up, let's go ahead and get on to the reserves. So who do you have for your Eastern Conference reserves?
My Eastern Conference reserves, I got Kyrie Irving.
Okay. Expected that.
I got Ben Simmons.
Okay.
I got Jason Tatum.
Okay.
I got Domantas Sabonis, who's having a sneaky good year.
Right.
And I got another guy that's having a sneaky good year for the New York Knicks, my guy Julius Randle.
Ooh, okay.
He's averaging a double-double with 6 assists a game. And the Knicks are like, they're not terrible. I think they're like, they're 9th at 9-11 in the Eastern Conference.
Yep. And they've had some pretty close games. Like they've had some good wins and some really close games with some people. And I mean, them sitting at that 9th seed and they're pretty much tied with the Hornets. I mean, I think that they'll sneak up in the playoffs this year. How about that?
Yeah, at least one of those play-in spots.
Yeah, I think that they'll find their way to sneak in there in the East. Yeah. So those are pretty interesting. I like those picks. See, it's like you said before, if we could have had another thing of reserves, there's some people that you have in your reserves that I would have put in there also.
Right. Cool.
Okay, so for my Eastern Conference reserves, I got Jaylen Brown, of course, because I felt like he should have. It was such a toss-up between him and Kyrie for me. I'm not even mad if he ends up being a starter. That's cool because I respect that and I can see it. You see what
Kyrie's gonna get the votes because he's Kyrie, but we're also gonna talk about another thing in the Western Conference where I have a guy on my reserve that's probably gonna get the starters votes, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay. So I got Jaylen Brown.
Mm-hmm.
All the same reasons you said. First of all, Jaylen Brown has hands down been the best player on the Celtics so far this year. Didn't really see that happening, to be honest. I mean, he's been a really good player, but he definitely become like a really great player this year. And
the jump he made is ridiculous. He went from 20 points per game to 27 points per game.
Yeah, that's a pretty big jump.
Ridiculous jump.
Yeah, to make in a year, or actually really in a few months. Really, because I mean, the last season ended not too long ago. He is playing completely opposite of the way he played in the bubble, and even how hard he played. Like he is a really huge threat, and it's something that the Celtics really need going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
For this year, so kudos to Jaylen Brown for that. And I mean, to be honest, I hope he gets a starting spot. But see, I think it's kind of what you said. Kyrie Irving is Kyrie Irving, and he's gonna get the votes. But Jaylen Brown definitely gonna be a reserve. If that didn't happen, I'd be shocked. It's gonna happen. For my second front court player, I got Trae Young.
Interesting.
Now I know that's kind of controversial to a lot of people because it came out recently that people don't like the way Trae Young plays. I saw a lot of people complaining about how he plays, but you can't deny the fact that the kid can score though. Like the kid is averaging 27 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds. Like he can score, and then his passing and playmaking ability is very underrated to me. And the Hawks.
I don't see a problem with the way Trae Young plays. What's the problem with the way Trae Young plays?
It's his ability to get to the free throw line. It's him like calling for a screen, coming off the screen, giving you a little hezzy, then a pump fake, and then going into you and getting a foul call. Like he does it a lot. Remember when we watched the Lakers and Hawks play in person, and I told you like he's about to do that for the next 3 possessions, and that's what he did to slow down the game. Yeah. That's just what he does. Like he does it to slow down the pace of the game. If the opposing team is killing them with their pace. It's kind of smart, and he gets the calls for it. So I mean, it's hard to complain about it. But also, the Hawks are sitting pretty at the 6th seed in the East, and he's a huge part of that. So I had to put Trae Young in there, but I debated because it was so hard. Go ahead.
It was tough. It was tough for me to put Ben Simmons in over him, but Ben Simmons' team is like first in the Eastern Conference, and like usually the top teams in the Eastern Conference usually have more than one All-Star.
Yeah.
And Ben Simmons is averaging 13, 8 and 8.
Yeah.
And Trae Young would probably get like one of the next batch of votes. One of the next spots on my list, like after the first 5 of reserves.
Yeah. I can see that.
Because you can't because we picked 2 front court players and 2 backcourt players and 3 front court players, just like we did the starters. We didn't go past that. But if we wouldn't have went past that, Trae Young and Colin Sexton would have both gotten. Would have both gotten a
spot for you.
A spot on my team. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can see that. To me, the debate was really between him, Colin Sexton, and Zach LaVine for that spot.
Yeah, Zach LaVine too.
Because Zach LaVine's been playing out of his mind this year too. The only issue is it just hadn't been translating for the Bulls. But they're a really young team, and so I felt like that wouldn't happen. And I also predicted the Hawks being better this year with the additions that they had. And it showed so far this year. I mean, that's the reason why they're the 6th seed right now. Even though the year just started, they're only 10-9, but I mean they're the 6th seed. The Hawks are happy with that. And he's just playing really well this year, so I had to put Trae Young in there for that second front court spot. Now for my backcourt, I got Jason Tatum, which you had him also, correct?
Yeah.
He's averaging 26.8. 26.8. He's averaging a couple of assists and a couple of rebounds, like 3 rebounds or something like that. Oh no, my bad. He's averaging he's averaging 7 rebounds and 3 assists. My fault.
3 assists, yeah.
I can't even read my own handwriting. My fault. He's doing pretty decent. Like, I get that Jaylen Brown's definitely been the best player on the team, but Jason Tatum's been the one that's drawing the double teams when it comes to the Celtics playing.
Yeah, Jason Tatum is one of the reasons Jaylen Brown is able to play as well as he's been able to play.
Exactly. Like, Jaylen Brown has been a little better to start this season, but come playoff time, I think Jason Tatum will be that guy for the Celtics. So It's hard not to give him a spot considering his resume and what he's done in years. Celtics team. I mean, he's on pretty much averaging 27. He's at 26.8. He's pretty much averaging 27, and he's doing really well this year. So even though I didn't have him as a starter and couldn't put him over anybody that I have in my, definitely deserved a spot on this reserves. So another person I have for my backcourt is Jerami Grant.
Jerami Grant, okay, interesting. I like it.
I know that's kind of controversial to a lot of people, but I just love the way Jerami Grant has been playing this year. I mean, the man decided that he was going to leave. Hit a great situation in Denver.
He bet on himself.
Yeah, he did, exactly. That's what I was getting to. He bet on himself, and it worked. I mean, he's averaging like 24, 2 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he's looking like he could be a superstar.
Yeah,
that's how he's looking.
He probably would have got
on that Pistons.
He probably would have got one of my next spots as well.
It's just I love the way Jerami Grant's playing. Like it's crazy. Like he was playing. First of all, he's playing really well in the bubble. Can you agree? It's just that Jamal Murray was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, and what happened? What happened with him?
I don't know, but Jerami Grant probably would have. The way he's playing right now with Detroit, you probably would have seen that even more in the bubble last year if Jamal Murray just didn't lose his mind, to be honest. And Jerami Grant knew how well he could play. Maybe the Nuggets didn't feel like he could play that well. And like you said, he bet on himself. And to me, it's working. I get Detroit is not the best team right now.
But he knew he wasn't going
to the best record.
He knew he wasn't going to Detroit to win. Let's be honest.
No, of course. Yeah. But this is what I will say. He can get to a point where he's hands down their best player and he makes other people want to come join him in Detroit. Yeah. Like, he can get to the point where he's their player to build something around in Detroit. So to me, he's been playing really well this year, and I had to put him in there, man. I love the way Jerami Grant's been playing. I love watching him play too. So I had to put him in there. Now for my last person I have in my reserves for the East, this one's gonna be probably gonna be a lot of people who disagree, but I got Gordon Hayward.
Okay.
Now this was tough because I really wanted to put Sabonis in here, but I got Gordon Hayward just because, even though he kind of left Boston for,
he also got a bet on himself.
Back. Yeah, he also bet on himself too, and it's working because the Hornets right now are at 8 seed, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't have them being the 8 seed, even with him going there. But he's been pretty much playing lights out for them also, and he has all those young players around him. And I think if he keeps up this level of play, to me, he don't have to average anything more than 23, which he's averaging right now. I mean, maybe he could average 25, but if he stays doing what he's doing now, leading those young players, getting them kind of ready and used to playing in tough games and playing against tough teams, they could stay right there at that one spot in the East and sneak their way into the playoffs also.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be hard to say he's not a huge part of it. So I had to put Gordon Hayward in here as my reserve. So for my reserves, I got Jaylen Brown, Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Jeremy Grant, and Gordon Hayward for my Eastern Conference reserves.
That's an interesting 5 right there. But that's an interesting 5.
It is, but I like your 5. I'm glad you put Sabonis in your reserves because Sabonis definitely deserves a spot.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, I don't know.
You had to feel like you had to show love to Gordon Hayward. I feel you.
I did. That's what it was. I felt like I had to show him that love because I feel like he hasn't gotten as much love as he deserves.
Right.
But I'm glad that people have been showing Sabonis a lot of love this year. He deserved it because I know a lot of people last year thought that All-Star selection was a fluke, and I was like, nah, Sabonis can hoop. And he's been proving it this year too. It's just that to me, Malcolm Brogdon's been a little better than him to start this year. But if, like you said, if we had more reserves or we had another list of reserves, Sabonis is definitely on there. Him and Brogdon for me.
Oh yeah, I like Brogdon too. Brogdon's playing very well.
He is. He's playing really well. Before we move on to our Western reserves, I'll just put it like this: Malcolm Brogdon, Sabonis, Miles Turner, and Caris LeVert when he gets back. I think the Pacers are going to be a really tough team. If not this year, then next year.
I agree with you, and I hope they are.
They're all just young. They just lack. They just don't have the experience in the playoffs. But they're going to be an up and coming squad though, for sure.
Right.
I think people should keep their eye out on the Pacers. Okay, let's get into the Western Conference reserves. So I'm gonna let you go first.
All right. For my backcourt, I got Luka Doncic. Okay. Obviously, he's not shooting well from 3-point. He's not shooting well from 3-point range. I think he's like 29% on 7 attempts per game. But he's like Luka. He's not gonna not be an All-Star. They're 8-12. Right now and 13 seed, but like All-Stars are All-Stars. Really, record right now don't have anything to do with it. Because because usually when we start voting on All-Stars, there's more games played, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's more games played and there's more of a sample size. Like we don't really have the sample size to know who's an All-Star right now. So we're just gonna have to wing it and go by what we have. And what we have is the Dallas Mavericks are playing without Kristaps Porzingis. Luka's still averaging damn near triple-double at 27, 9, and 9. So, like, he's going to get one of those.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, he's going to get one of those reserve spots from me. My second person in the backcourt is Donovan Mitchell because his team is number 1 in the Western Conference. Who saw that coming? Did you see the Utah Jazz being number 1 in the Western Conference?
No, my predictions I definitely had them like the 5th seed at this point.
Yeah,
but I'm glad
Donovan
you brought
Mitchell
that up.
Playing very well. He's averaging 23, 4, and 4. But they're first in the Western Conference. You can't not have the first seed in the West in a conference not having All-Star.
Exactly.
Yeah. My first front court player is Paul George. Paul George could easily be a starter, but I don't think he's going to get the votes to be a starter because, it's cool to like hate on Paul George or whatever. But he'll definitely be a reserve. He's averaging 24 points. I think like 5 rebounds and 5 assists or something like that. He's one of the big reasons why the Clippers are playing very well. He's basically being regular season Paul George. We just got to see it in the playoffs.
I agree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
You got next.
Next, I got Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is weird because yesterday he played very well. He had like 27 and 14, but most of the season
versus the Celtics.
But most of the season he hasn't been as dominant on offense as he has the capability of being like he was in a bubble. I think he's doing what we expected LeBron to do.
Mm-hmm.
I expected it kind of to be the opposite because Anthony Davis is the young guy. But most of LeBron's game at this point is mental. Anthony Davis probably just doesn't have that mental yet to be able to overcome the fatigue of whatever he's going through, injury, whatever he's going through. But this is the guy I was talking about that's probably going to be started because of voting. Because, the Laker fan base is so massive and So yeah, we're gonna vote for him anyway. So like he's probably gonna get that starting spot probably over Kawhi because Jokic is averaging triple-double. I don't think they're gonna not vote for Jokic. And yeah, I think Anthony Davis is gonna end up starting, but I think Kawhi deserves to start, and Anthony Davis deserves to be a reserve. And Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is he's the second best player on the number one team in the Western Conference, pretty much. That's pretty much what I went with. Why I went with Rudy Gobert for this spot. He is averaging 13 and 14 though, which is ridiculous.
That is
like 14 rebounds per game is crazy to me. But he's not an offensive player; he's a defensive player. But like I said, he's the second best player on the top team in the Western Conference right now. So that's why I put him in at that 5 spot in the reserves.
Okay. You know what's crazy about your reserve list? Mine was pretty much the same except for one player, but we'll get to that. So for my backcourt, I got Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Hard not to put Luka in, averaging 27, 9, and 9, like you said, averaging almost a triple-double. Now, right now, it's not fully translating to wins for the Mavericks, which really sucks.
But then again, they're still right there. They're 8 and 12. Like we said, like nobody's record is like gangbusters right now. Like some of the top records in the league are like 11 and 8. They can easily at 8 and 12. They can easily make that up with a little winning streak.
Yeah, agreed. But again, like we said with the All-Stars, this is what you do really individually. Everything else is kind of just extra. Mm-hmm. So him averaging 27, 9, and 9 is crazy. He's really almost averaging a triple-double. And I think by the end of the season, he'll at least be averaging a double-double, probably because of rebounds.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. So that's pretty crazy. So he has to get that reserve spot. But there's a lot of Luka fans. So he is somebody that could end up getting a starting spot.
Yeah.
Also, so, and I got Donovan Mitchell also, as a reserve. Pretty much like you said, he's got the Jazz as the 1 seed, and I really wasn't expecting that. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. They're really the 1 seed, sitting at 15 and 4, which is crazy. They are a team who a lot of people have been sleeping on, including me. But their offense, they probably right now in the NBA, they probably got the best offense in it, for sure, like hands down. I don't know if you watch the Jazz, but their offense is definitely high powered. They push the ball really well,
and they're thought of
shoot the ball really well.
They're thought of as a defensive team too. That's what's crazy about it.
That is really crazy. But they're also clicking. Like Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley are playing so well together right now. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mike Conley's looking like Mike Conley on the Grizzlies. Like
right.
He's looking like how he did when him and Marc Gasol used to play and used to go to game 6s with people, and just he's playing really well for them. He played really well with them in the bubble, but to me part of that is Donovan Mitchell's leadership though. So I had to put Donovan Mitchell up there. They're the number 1 seed right now in the West, 15 and 4, and their offense is great, and he leads it. So I had to put Donovan Mitchell up there. Then I also got Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
Had to put Paul George in here. To me, Paul George is probably going under a lot of people's radars also, but that's really because the Clippers right now are going under a lot of people's radars. Just because
they're playing very well.
All the attention. Yeah, exactly. Just because all the attention has gone down to the Nets. But I mean, he's averaging 24 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. Like he's doing good. But also another issue with Paul George is the regular season is never really in question when it comes to Paul George.
Right.
This how he always plays in the regular season. His only issue came with the playoffs the last 3 years, but he always great in the regular season though. But he and Kawhi have found a way to get everybody on this Clippers team right now to buy in. Only thing they have to worry about really is being disfocused come playoff time. But Paul George, he's playing great though. He's playing great. He had to be in there. I think everybody will have Paul George in their reserve spot. It's kind of hard not to.
Even me.
With the way he's playing.
Even myself. I'm just joking.
I love the way Paul George is playing this year. He's looking great. I just hope he continues this on throughout the playoffs also. I also got Anthony Davis in there, like you had. Kind of like you said, I get Anthony Davis averaging 22, 3 and 9. His offense isn't looking the way it did last year. He's not being as dominant down low as he was last year. But to me, one of the biggest reasons for that is I think he saw what LeBron did last year when it came to kind of taking a back seat during the regular season. And he's kind of waiting until the back half of the year.
Yeah, the second half of the season, he's gonna ramp it up. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of waiting until then to kind of make that push and kind of play at the level we all know he could play at.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't think
he's been playing.
I don't think he's doing it on purpose though, because like he said himself that he thinks he sucks right now. Like he's not even making free throws like he was last season. Like he was at 85% last season. He's below 75% this season.
Right. Where I cut him slack is, think about this. Last year was the furthest he had ever gone in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then not only have you gone the furthest you've ever gone in the playoffs, but then now
well, obviously
this is going to be your shortest. It's your shortest off season you ever had.
Yeah. Well, obviously you just won a championship.
The shortest off season anybody's ever had. So I think when it comes to those two factors, he's just not used to that, and then having to play at a certain level. But LeBron has kind of made up that slack where Anthony Davis is kind of lacking offense. LeBron has made it up. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of the vice versa last year where LeBron kind of lacked in scoring. Anthony Davis made up for that.
Yeah.
So to me right now, Anthony Davis is just chilling, but he's still playing well enough that he deserves to at least be a reserve. But also it's kind of like you said, he's going to get the votes. He's Anthony Davis, plays for the Lakers. He's going to get the votes anyway. But also to me, his rebound has been really well. I think by the time the season ends or right before playoffs, I think he'll be averaging a double-double. I mean, he's at 9.1 rebounds now. I think he'll be averaging 10.
Yeah.
By the time the season ends. So let's say he finished the season with like 24, 3 and 10. I mean, that's still a pretty good season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And to me, definitely worthy of being an all-star. So I think he'll still end up being an all-star. He's an all-star in my book. So Anthony Davis deserves that spot in the reserves. And then my last person, you had Rudy Gobert, right? Mm-hmm. I debated between Rudy Gobert and Christian Wood, and I picked Christian Wood.
Okay, interesting. He's playing very well.
Now, Rudy Gobert averaging 14 rebounds is crazy. That's part of the reason why I was like, man, Rudy Gobert deserves a spot. But I did not expect Christian Wood to be...
What's his numbers look like?
Players... Christian Wood's averaging 24. He's averaging 24, 1 and 10. Which to me is pretty well, actually really 23.6, but it's pretty much 24. So he's averaging a double-double right now with the Rockets. But he's just to me like, okay, we knew how good he was gonna be coming to this year, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was gonna be 24 points a game good.
No, me neither.
Like, if he would have been averaging 17, 18, that's good.
He's averaging.
Like, that to me, that's what the Rockets need. But for him to be averaging 24 with them and being such a great big man down low for them, it's I don't know. It's just crazy to me. Like, I love the way Christian Wood is playing. I'm a fan.
Yeah. Their record is...
I love to watch him play.
Their record is better than the Dallas Mavericks. So, like, if we put Luka in there because he's Luka, averaging 27, 9, and 9. I guess you could put Christian Wood in there averaging double-double at 23 and 10.
Yeah. But I also put him in there because he kind of got on this team. He didn't really have anything to prove to anybody, but he's proven stuff to people anyway. But then also with the way the relationship ended with James Harden and the Rockets, how James Harden kind of said that they didn't have enough to beat anybody. To me, him and players like John Wall are kind of proving that James Harden statement wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that Christian Wood gets a chance to play in the playoffs because I think he could up his level of play even more with the way he's been playing so far this season.
Yeah. So
Christian Wood averaged 23 and 10. I had to put him in there. he's just been such a huge threat. And then you had that clip that came out of LeBron on the free throw line telling Marc Gasol to make sure you box him out and watch him because he's such a great player. And I was like, yeah, this dude Christian Wood, like we knew he was good, but we didn't know he was great. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, he's kind of shown that this year. But it was a toss-up to me between him and Rudy Gobert. It was hard. Rudy Gobert averaging 14 rebounds is ridiculous. And like you said, Rudy Gobert is not a offensive player. He's mainly a defensive player.
Yeah.
So him only averaging 13 points to me really didn't matter. That 14 rebounds is just ridiculous. Like it's hard to deny that.
What mattered to me is that his team's number one in the Western Conference. And like usually number one in the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference usually has more than one All-Star.
True.
Number one in each conference usually have like 3 All-Stars.
It's true.
Think about that year the Hawks was number one in the East. They had 4 All-Stars. Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap, and Al Horford.
Yeah, Al Horford. But then
like how many of those guys were the All-Stars?
Paul Millsap. Sometimes. When you want to be.
Right.
Well, actually, I don't know anymore.
Maybe Al Horford.
Maybe. That's a stretch, but maybe, yeah. But that's a good point. You're right. Usually when you're the 1 seed in the East, you got multiple All-Stars. Okay, so we got our starters and our reserves. I think our list is pretty good. I think it's pretty much going to be, for the most part, the actual list of reserves and starters. It's kind of hard to say otherwise. Probably some ones in there that are toss-up.
Especially for the Western Conference, because our Western Conference will be pretty similar. I think it's going to be pretty similar to what it actually is. But the East, we had very different reserves for the East.
It's the one part where the East to me is where I think some things are going to change. But with that being said, with having a team like the Nets, with having them adding James Harden recently, and James Harden being an all-star, of course, all throughout his time in Houston, do you think, because he has such a big fan base, do you think that he's going to end up being voted in, if not a starter, at least a reserve sometime?
Has James Harden even played enough games to qualify?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, I guess it's only been...
You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Actually. I mean, I guess you can vote for anybody. Like, you can vote for anybody. Yeah, like Yao Ming used to be. Yao Ming, Kobe, people like that used to be voted in as starters without playing a game in the season. So, yeah, maybe it's possible.
Right.
I wouldn't vote for him, but it's definitely possible.
If I'm being honest with you, I feel like it's gonna happen. I feel like that's gonna be the one person that I think a lot of people don't really have him. I think, okay, depending on if you're a fan of his or if you're a Nets fan, then if you're a fan of his or a Nets fan, you definitely have him either as a starter or as a reserve. But if you aren't a Nets fan or if you aren't a fan of his, you probably don't have him as either or. But I do think that because he has such a big fan base, he's gonna make it.
I don't know if his fan base is that big though. Is it?
I think it is.
I
think it'll be enough, and he'll be voted in.
I guess it's because I'm not gonna lie. I have his name muted on Twitter. I don't want to associate with his fans, but that's probably why I don't think he has such a big fan base. I don't come across those people. That's probably what it is.
I come across him, but yeah, he definitely has a pretty big fan base. I think that he'll be voted in. I do think it'll be kind of controversial to a lot of people, but I do think he'll
we'll see.
For sure. But also I do think it'll be interesting to see who
we'll do a reaction show, like see who they actually get voted in or so things like that. See who actually got snubbed, who we were right about, who we were wrong about, stuff like that. When the actual teams are actually announced.
Yeah. I agree with that. Okay, well, you kind of answered my question about James Harden. That's really the only question I had, just because I feel like to me, he has a bigger fan base than anybody that we have on our Eastern Conference reserves. Would you agree?
I have Kyrie on my Eastern Conference reserve. You think James Harden? You think James Harden has a bigger?
Oh yeah, you got Kyrie. It may be about the same. But see, I have Kyrie as a starter. I forgot you have him as a reserve. Okay, besides Kyrie, anybody else in your reserves, I feel like he has a bigger fan base than them. So I think he's going to get those votes.
But, like, the reserves are like coaches, though. It's not really fans.
That is true. But I think he'll make it in. It's going to be hard for them not to have him make it in, especially because I don't think he is anymore. But at one point, he was leading the league in assists, and he's averaging 11 assists right now. He's averaging like 25 and 11. Yeah. So even though this has been a weird year for him, and he's not averaging 30 plus, he's really the biggest playmaker and the best playmaker on that Nets team. And he's the best player at making sure everybody gets involved.
He might squeak in.
So
I wouldn't be mad if he squeaked in. I just don't have him on my list.
Right. I don't have him as my reserve either or starter for me, but I just feel like he's gonna find a way to make it in there because of what he's done this year, his ability to be able to take that back seat for the Nets. Because he clearly has taken the back seat, which to me hasn't been bad. It was needed for them. Clearly, Kyrie's not taking one. KD's the best player, so how can you ask the best player on the team to take one? So he stepped up. He's the one who took one for the team. He's doing it, but he's also where he's not scoring, he's getting other people involved, and to me, that's big when it comes to their team success. So he was able to make the sacrifice in his numbers in terms of scoring, but it's helping his assist numbers go up. So his ability to do that, to me, if he were to get in as All-Star, I wouldn't be mad at it. So I just had to ask that question. Just wanted to see what your thoughts were on James Harden and possibly making it as an All-Star this year.
Yeah, I think it's possible. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. But like you said, we'll do a reaction show to the actual All-Star starters when it comes out. All right, you got anything else?
Interesting to see what happens. I'm still enjoying the season. We'll see who actually makes the All-Star teams and if they'll actually have a game. What about you? You got anything else?
No, that's it. I kind of agree with you. I am enjoying the season too. It has been weird with all the cancellations and things like that. Things being postponed. It is very weird, and it kind of sucks. You definitely kind of feeling the effects of not having a bubble. And with that being said, I just got a feeling that either playoff time or closer to playoff time or even maybe finals time, they'll crack down and have even stricter rules during that time. So there's no cancellations. There's no
one more thing.
Things like that.
I was watching the Lakers and Celtics game last night, and it was the type of broadcast that I like. Like in the Boston's arena, there was very little piped in crowd noise. You get to hear the sneakers, you hear the shoes squeaking, you get to hear the players chatter. That's how I want the broadcast to be. I don't want to hear no fake fan, man. That's how I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say that.
Oh yeah, I love that. Are you talking about that Detroit game and how crazy they were going?
They were going stupid with the fake fan noise. I would.
Oh my God, you're right, bro. That I had to tweet about that. I was like, bro, why is Detroit going so crazy with the fan noise right now? Like there was no way this place would be that loud for that little play. Okay, that's a good point.
I just wanted to get that off my chest.
That's kind of true
for everybody.
No, you got it. I kind of agree. I guess it just depends on the arena and what they want. I guess it's just what Detroit wanted versus the Lakers.
Like how is fake fan noise?
It was too much.
Hyping a player up, like that doesn't do anything. That's like you playing a video game with your homie and you losing, and your girlfriend's like, "That's okay, babe. You'll get it next time." Like that's making it worse. Like that's not making me feel better. Like the fact that there are no fans in here, you piping in crowd noise is not gonna make me feel better. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
I like that you brought that up. That's a pretty good point. I don't know, but listen, I'll put it to you like this: if you think that it's bad now or you kind of like it, I do believe that come playoff time that a lot of teams will do it because a lot of certain places are really loud for the playoffs. That's just how it is. Like Oracle is crazy for the playoffs. Staples is crazy for the playoffs. Brooklyn will probably be crazy for the playoffs. Like there's certain places that their fans are crazy come playoff time. So I do think that if you don't like it now, you're definitely gonna hear it come playoff time from certain teams.
It's just we'll talk about it another time. All right, we get out of here. This has been another episode of the Point Guard Cast. We'll see y'all next time.